Jacob, who was taking off the harness, didn't notice Kyle's expression amongst the crowd. He slowly walked over to Michael and pointed his finger at the microphone by the table. "We just agreed on something." He started to speak. "When did we agree on anything?" Michael stared at Jacob with a look so cold that it could cut through human bodies. Jacob had embarrassed him twice in front of a crowd. Michael was someone who valued his reputation more than anything else, and having it ruined for the second time was just making him angrier than he had ever been. If only looks could kill. Kathy saw that Jacob was walking towards Michael and immediately realized that he was about to pick up a fight. She hastily ran over to Jacob. She knew that he couldn't afford to get into another fight within the same month, no matter how influential he was, especially when his opponent was the deputy mayor's son. Kyle was just about to leave, but he stopped as he noticed the change in the situation. Jacob's safety meant nothing to him, but he couldn't leave his sister behind. Michael's anger decreased by half when he saw Kathy, especially when he noticed Kyle, who stood out from the crowd, staring at him. He didn't dare to make any impulsive moves. At least, he didn't dare to yell at Kathy. Maybe others were not aware of Kathy's status, but he, as one of the influential people in college, knew exactly what her background was. No one at school dared get in her brother Kyle's way. Even Lisa, who considered herself to be the most popular girl in college and didn't care about other girls' existence, would keep a distance from Kathy. It was because she learned from Michael that Kathy's older brother was Kyle, the captain of the school basketball team. "What's the matter?" Kathy asked Michael when she saw Jacob's slightly irritated expression. She and Michael kind of knew each other since they were both members of the student council. "Your friend here isn't satisfied with the prize he won. He's also trying to interfere with my club's management." Michael tried hard to suppress his anger and said in an upset tone, "I don't care about the prize. However, you need to clarify your club's charges to the freshmen," Jacob said to him, firmly. The crowd circled the three of them as they saw a conflict emerge between Jacob and Michael. Everyone who was going to leave after the exhilarating competition stopped their tracks, hoping to see a fight. This afternoon break was turning out to be one of the most interesting ones. "What charges? It's $100 to enroll," Michael insisted when he saw more people getting closer. "All right, I'll say it if you won't." Jacob nodded as he walked to the table to grab the mic. Michael was getting really tired of Jacob. He reached out his arm in anger and tried to stop him. Jacob was equally upset. He pushed away Michael's arm without hesitation. Even though Michael was strong, his strength was nothing compared to Jacob's. After all, Jacob had to carry around 100 pounds on each of his wrists every day. Michael immediately got pushed aside, and he almost fell. Jacob quickly picked up the mic, turned it on, and said to the crowd, "Whoever is considering joining the rock climbing club, listen carefully. The fee you are paying today is only the enrollment fee, and it does not include the fee you have to pay a week later. Not only that, the training and equipment will also not be provided for free." "I thought the $100 would cover everything." "Do we have to buy our own equipment? I thought the club was going to provide it for us." Sure enough, those who had just registered and those who were still considering it started to reconsider. "It's none of your business." Michael dashed over. He whipped out his fist and aimed it at Jacob's forehead. However, it was stopped by a giant hand. He turned around and saw Kyle staring at him angrily from above, eyes wide open. Kyle was grasping onto his arm with his palm in a vice-like grip. "Kyle? He's the one who injured all your players. Why are you helping him?" demanded Michael. "That's between me and him, and I'll deal with that later. I'm not happy with you charging students with all the extra fees as well," Kyle said. This was the first time Jacob heard Kyle talk and looked at him from such a close distance. Kyle's deep voice had an overwhelming sense of power, and those who didn't obey would be playing with fire. I don't want to join this rock climbing club anymore. Can I get a refund? A freshman asked Jacob timidly. Ask him. Jacob pointed at the vice captain of the club, who could do nothing but nod at this moment. Then, a couple of students who had just registered for the club got their refunds, one by one. They thought the enrollment fee was all it took to attend the rock climbing club, and had no idea that there would be a large number of hidden charges to follow. A set of rock climbing equipment, for example, would cost thousands. Not a lot of students could afford that. It's almost time. Let's get back to class, Jacob said after the issue had been taken care of, as he wiped off the sweat from his forehead. Okay, let's go. Sam was glad to see Jacob venting his anger, and he didn't want to stick around any longer after it was over. Jacob had always been the calm one among their group, always telling them, especially Sam, to keep their heads low and just get through the 4 years without getting into trouble. But lately, something had gotten into him. He was more confident than ever and was facing all the bullies head on. All the boys in his class were very proud of him and also in awe of his newfound physical strength. Jacob glimpsed at Michael, who was so mad that his eyes turned red. He finally chose to ignore him and simply walked out of there along with his friends. Hey, you forgot your prize, Kyle said in his deep voice. He grasped the set of black equipment and threw it at Jacob. Jacob caught it in his hands and tossed it into the air twice. Then he threw it back to Kyle and said, I don't need it. Kyle was very tall and strong, like a bull. He was forced back half a step by the 50-pound equipment that was thrown at him. He thought to himself, this guy really has amazing upper body strength. Jacob! Kathy jogged over to catch up with him. What's the matter, Kathy? Jacob turned around reluctantly. He was irritated with her for constantly interfering in his affairs. She was perfect, besides her interest in controlling too many things. You forgot these bracelets, she said, handing them over to Jacob. Jacob then suddenly remembered the bracelets he had just left beside the wall. Jacob quickly took them from her smooth hands and put them on his wrists. Jacob shivered at the thought of what would have happened if he had lost those bracelets. He had never taken them off till now, just because of the fear of losing them. But today he had to, and his fear almost came true. Although he had never tasted the feeling of the tightening necklace, he knew it wouldn't be the best feeling in the world. It was from Susan, after all, and it was no cheap treasure. She would never leave a life behind if she decided to kill. Thank you, Kathy. Jacob thanked her, sincerely this time. Kathy noticed how much Jacob valued these seemingly ordinary bracelets, and she also caught him subconsciously touching the silver necklace that he never seemed to take off. She suddenly realized that the bracelets and the necklace seemed like a set. Are these gifts from Susan as well? Kathy thought to herself. Kathy, you must have class in the afternoon, too. Go get some lunch before it's too late. Jacob laughed happily and said to her. His anger was now completely gone, and he walked away with his arm around Sam's neck. Kathy watched Jacob walk away, wondering if he had lied to her about Susan being his cousin. For a cousin, he sure seems to value her weird gifts more than anything else. But if she really is his girlfriend, then why would he lie to me? Kathy thought. She was lost in these thoughts and still standing in an empty sports stadium when her friend called her name to ask her to go with her to get lunch.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.